Hello, my name is Alan Stoddart. I'm Signify's research editor of the Signify Premium Insight Services, and I'm currently in the process of launching the Signify Premium Insights Generative AI service, which will go live in mid-February. And I'm here with Vlad Kozynchenko, who leads the research for the Generative AI Market Intelligence Service. And we're going to have a Q&A and discuss some of the topics in Generative AI as it pertains to healthcare. So, Vlad, why don't we start off? What is generative AI?
Hi, Alan. Thanks for having me. So yeah, generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that's able to produce and generate new content such as text, images, videos. But in addition to generating new content, it can also do it has other capabilities such as text summarization, perhaps text classification, question and answering, as we've seen with ChatGPT. But ultimately, it has a broad range of capabilities and it's trained on large amounts of data, and it's not, unlike traditional machine learning models, it's not directly trained to perform one task. It can be adapted to do different tasks depending on what the user wants.
Well, so it sounds very lots of potential for to have a great impact. So could you give us an overview of the market as it stands and how that market will develop over time?
Sure, yeah. So as we all know, the healthcare industry is facing two big problems, right? So it's the clinician burnout and the staff shortages, and the clinician burnout, as I've been told, is getting worse due to the fact that technology is standing on the way rather than helping the clinician. It's actually putting up barriers. And so it's no surprise that majority of the use cases around generative AI that's able to expedite the process and improve efficiency is around workflow automation. So we're currently seeing around 60 to 70% of use cases around the workflow automation for the clinician. And so the example being, for example, like ambient listening or text summarization, things like this. And so in the future, going forward, we don't expect the trajectory to change. So I think the majority of use cases will remain around workflow automation. However, other areas will also will start being developed. So, for example, patient engagement and clinical decision support. Obviously, healthcare is centered around patient and would like to provide personalized treatment for the patient and empower the patient. And so patient engagement can really benefit from generative AI's capabilities for delivering that extra personalized care. And similar goes for clinical decision support. So I think the most remarkable and most notable use case that's currently being deployed in clinical decision support for generative AI is Wolters Kluwer UpToDate, whereby it's able to summarize a lot of information and facilitate faster decision making for the clinician at the point of care. And so really those two use cases are going to see some improvement and more deployment in 2024. There are also other use cases, for example, strategy and planning, and as well as operational support. So from the perspective on institutions such as healthcare providers, they have admin work and marketing, etc. And obviously those use cases will also see uplift, however, not as much as the ones I just talked about earlier.
Wow, really interesting. And as the market develops, do you think that it's going to be the generative AI itself that is the product, or do you think it's going to be what the generative AI enables? Is essentially generative AI a product, or is it a feature?
Right. That's a very good question, and a lot of people are asking it. And I think the answer is it depends. In the short form and in the longer form, it depends who you ask. So if you ask certain vendors, health tech vendors, such as, for example, the likes of Abridge, Suki, Nabla, and Nuance, they will definitely say that generative AI is a product because they have transitioned their business model from medical scribe to ambient listening, integrating the generative AI into this new product. And I don't think that's going to change. That's going to be the new status quo. So rather than having medical scribes, we will have ambient listening. And thus they have their own business model. Surely, yes, it does integrate with other healthcare ITs, such as electronic health records. However, it is a standalone product that healthcare providers have to pay by themselves on their own. And hence, in this case, generative AI is a product with its own commercial case. And therefore, it does have the capacity to provide additional value to those developers. On the other hand, products such as UpToDate by Wolters Kluwer has already seen a lot of commercial success before the invention of generative AI by enabling this clinical decision support at the point of care. And integrating the generative AI tool only enables enhancement to the already existing product. And in this case, it is a feature. One aspect of generative AI as a feature is the pricing and the commercial realization of the product, because running those foundation models is extremely expensive, and adding this cost will have to be passed on to the healthcare providers, and thereby not a lot of healthcare providers will be able to afford it. Only the large ones with deep pockets and all of the ambulatory care providers won't be able to integrate those sort of tools into their clinical workflows. Another development we expect to see is similar sort of integration of generative AI with the EHR records, whereby you can use the summarization and generation tool directly with the EHR provider. But then again, it faces the same problem of having these additional costs being a burden to the healthcare provider. And so how the vendors are going to go about it, that's the question that they're trying to answer right now, and whether that's going to be something that they're doing across all of their portfolio with all of their customers, that still remains to be seen. One thing that I do think can happen is the rise of small language models. So those ones are more efficient, smaller, require less memory models that can potentially be fine-tuned and perform a task at a good enough level that the healthcare providers can integrate those types of foundation models into their processes, and thereby enabling the use of generative AI for everyone in the healthcare space.
Well, it's really interesting. There's so many considerations. Given the sort of potential complexity and all of these considerations, if you were, what advice would you give to a health tech vendor that was weighing up whether to incorporate generative AI into their portfolio?
Mm-hmm.
What salient words of wisdom would you pass on?
I think the most important thing, right, is try to solve a real problem. Don't just try to use generative AI for the sake of a marketing campaign or because your C-suite has told you to. Do you find a problem that is solvable and that you think is going to bring value? That's the first piece of advice. And the second piece of advice would be to test it with your stakeholders, test it with your customers, make sure that that's something they want, because very often you could create an idea that in theory sounds all sweet and sound. However, when you do come to deploy it to the market, no customer really wants it, and obviously you don't want to be in this position. And lastly, given that you have number one, which is finding your problem and finding how to answer that problem, and number two, having the customer demand, I'd say number three would be the data. So obviously everyone knows the phrase garbage in, garbage out with machine learning and artificial intelligence in general. Large language models and generative AI is no different to that. And so having very good quality data will also mean that you have a better model to use as your product or feature, whichever one you're going to choose to. And for example, other vendors such as Page AI in digital pathology, Nuance in scribing and medical imaging, all have vast amounts of data to rely on, and that's their competitive advantage, because by having better data, you can have high quality models, and by having high quality models, you can deliver better output to your customers, and that's obviously what's going to set you apart from your competition.
Well, it's really interesting, and I'm looking forward to using this insight that you have that's bursting forth as I write the generative AI premium insights, and there's more information about that in this post, and you'll be able to sign up for trials in the links. I'm glad you've obviously got the generative AI market intelligence service. It's the first deliverable coming out soon.
So yeah, no, actually, second deliverable coming out. So we did publish a show report in relation to RSNA. So the team attended the RSNA 2023, and we have highlighted and summarized all of the key announcements and trends that we have seen at the show. And soon enough, in February, we're having the first vendors, opportunities, and strategies report coming out in relation to medical and clinical IT. Following that, we will have big tech, digital health and EMR vendors, as well as pharma and life sciences, all coming out this year, and then HIMSS show report also coming out in March. So look forward to that.
Thanks, Vlad. That's fascinating. So sign up for a free trial of Signify Premium Insights Generative AI at the link in the post. Thank you.